The release of Hogwarts Legacy was a rather interesting one. I won't go too into the details as that's not the point of this video, but controversy aside, I was really skeptical and very cautious about this game because there have been so many movie/book IP based games that have been, for the lack of a better term, lackluster, and that's being extremely generous. However, about 31 to 32 hours into this game, I am pleasantly surprised with how it plays. As a Harry Potter fan who read the books and watched the movies when they were a kid, all of the references and details Hogwarts Legacy offers is stunning and leaves me super engaged for hours on end. However, how is the game per se? Forget about my bias for Harry Potter. How is the game itself? First off, I want to talk about PC performance. Game's a RAM hog. There's nothing to say about it. I honestly thought 32 gigs of RAM recommended on their site was a joke. But they weren't kidding, man. At 1440p at basically high settings with even DLSS on quality, the game slurps up about 20 to 23 gigs, even with nothing going on in my Windows PC, which is absolutely hilarious to me. The game also suffers from stuttering so bad, you might as well not wake up from your dorm, and that's due to some rather questionable optimization. I would say it's slightly better than Cyberpunk at launch, but still pretty bad. Game seems to be very VRAM and CPU heavy, though it definitely feels like the game hogs on more VRAM than it is CPU. Basically, if you have an 8GB card, like VRAM card like a 3070 like I do, you will experience some major stutters in Hogwarts Castle and Hogsmeade. Though outside of that, in like the open world, almost runs flawlessly. Now, playing it on the Steam Deck, right? I did try it on the Steam Deck. The game still suffers the same stuttering issues as before, but it is somewhat playable at 30 to 40 FPS on low with FSR, which was kind of surprising. I had almost no issues playing core parts of the game if you keep your expectations in check, obviously, which is great and means that the Steam Deck will be my place to game this game on the go, which is awesome. I can't imagine though how the Switch version is going to perform. Like, that's going to be interesting. So I'm considering purchasing it on the Switch just to see how it goes. I may post a video about it, but I'm not sure. PC performance aside though, the game's surprisingly good. It offers quite a bit of content, and the world, while maybe a little bit empty and boring in a lot of areas, like it's literally just terrain of like trees and plains, it's filled with collectibles, trials, and activities to explore and do. It honestly shocked me how large the world was, and there was almost no restrictions of getting different areas of the map. Like, seriously, you can swim if you wanted to, you can fly, and you can run basically without much getting in your way. Like, literally, you can escape like a cliffside just by flying. There's no restrictions to you not flying, which makes moving through the world way more enjoyable than it ever is in other games. The game does have a fast travel system, but a lot of the time I enjoyed flying so much in this game that I really didn't use the fast travel. It was that good. Next, I want to talk about the main story. No spoilers, but it's okay. Even though I'm somewhat halfway through the game, I don't find it particularly great, like Game of the Year material, but at the same time, it's not that bad. I think it's good enough story to keep you invested in the world, and for a game like this, based around a billion-dollar IP, I think that's all it needs to keep players hooked. I would have liked a more interesting narrative, but at the same time, with how much side content there is, I can't fault the devs here, honestly. There's certainly a lot to do. But I will say, though, when it comes to the story, the first couple of hours of the main quest are literally just slogs of tutorials and dialogue. You can't freely explore the world until hours in, and for some folks, that's just enough for them to stop playing. Basically, like, they can't even hit the meat on the bones because the first couple hours is just hand-holding for the most part. On the topic of the story, I gotta say, the dialogue in this game kind of sucks. Like, literally, the voices sound so unnatural when there's, like, actual surprise. Like, when your character, like, is experiencing the best day of his life, literally, he sounds so monotone that it's so funny. I just gotta bring that out there. This isn't part of the script, but I just wanted to put it out here. The dialogue is not that great, but it's so funny at times. On the topic of side content, though, there is quite a bit of them. From the typical RPG, side quests, talking to NPCs and doing this, to solving puzzles to upgrade your abilities, or finding treasure for loot and gear, and even to battle arenas testing your combat. The content is somewhat engaging, and surprisingly none of it felt boring to me, as none of the gimmicks were one-offs. All share somewhat similar mechanics to how to beat them, which made them memorable to understand and learn, as basically learning one mechanic could help you in a different puzzle or activity. Now, there is a separate thing called the Room of Requirement, where you essentially kind of sort of like build your own room with goodies and raise animals. It's kind of like Animal Crossing in a way, or like any of those like Sims kind of thing. Honestly, reminds me a lot of the Serenity pot from Genshin. So if you like that style of game, then it's there for you. Next, I want to talk about the biggest pro and honestly the best thing to come out of this game, and the thing that keeps me interested is the combat. You have a basic combo spell, basically, that you can just, just spam with your triggers. But aside from that, you also have, when you get the correct upgrades, 4 sets of 4 spells, so basically 16 spells at a given time that you can use at your disposal to mix your combos on. The combat actually is surprisingly diverse, where each spell specializes in a certain ability. Sets of spells can synergize with each other, and if you can master how the combo spells together, you can easily crowd control or deal massive damage to major boss enemy types. It's actually quite engaging to do and learn how to basically combo spells. And you're going to have to learn, especially on harder difficulties. I'm currently playing the game on hard, which is the hardest difficulty, and enemies for the most part can down you in 2 to 4 attacks if you're not careful, and can and will spawn in big numbers if they so choose, so it is key to learn your effective options. Now, that being said, the parry system, like the counter system, is kind of tame and honestly really easy. You don't even need to time your parries, you simply have to hold the button down and you can easily counterattack. Combat rolling is also there, and it's relatively easy to use and super useful once you learn how to apparate with it with the talent upgrade, as you can basically just spam dodge and just avoid groups of enemies, and they basically almost cannot hit you for the most part. It's rather hilarious how broken the dodge is in this game. Regardless though, the combat is a great blend of challenge and simplicity that will keep a lot of players engaged, in my opinion. While I can say the combat is awesome, the gear system is honestly the worst part of this game. Just like any RPG, you do have a stat number on your offense and defense, which basically boosts your attack and boosts your armor, your health basically. There's also armor mods and traits that you can apply to your character that gives extra bonuses or resistance to enemy damage types, which is really nice. Means that you can basically build into a spell and deal massive damage with it. However, in the harder difficulties, I really didn't find the stat numbers that beneficial. I just don't feel they're bonuses, since regardless, at least in the current moment, enemies always scale to my level and I die relatively quick regardless of what level I am. Like, no matter how much I stack my defense, it doesn't feel like I die less or like I get hit less. So in my opinion, the gear system almost feels kind of irrelevant, to be honest, outside the armor mods, which are awesome by the way. Transmog though is really nice, allowing you to look whatever and however you want to while wearing your best gear pieces. So if you want to look like a goofy guy, you can. If you want to look like a snazzy guy, you can. Now, outside of that, there's also things like challenges, talents, and collections for you to explore and upgrade your character. Feels a lot like Destiny in that aspect, so you can, if you want to, you can go and collect a bunch of stuff and just fill in your compendium essentially. Honestly, like so far, I've really been enjoying this game, and I have little to complain outside of maybe some edgy dialogue, the PC performance issues that I explained earlier, a rather pointless gear system, and an uninspired like open world that's outside of Hogsworth and Hogsmeade. Like not Hogwarts, not like the school or Hogsmeade. I'm talking about like the barren areas in between. However, these issues have not tainted my love for this game. It has excellent combat and progression that honestly any player can enjoy. And honestly, I would 100% recommend this game. Outside of Harry Potter fans, if you're a fan of RPGs or love open worlds and want to get into a brand new one, but keep expectations. This game isn't going to blow your socks off. This game doesn't really innovate or create anything like revolutionary to the RPG genre that hasn't been seen before, but it's a very solid RPG that I think a lot of people will enjoy. And honestly, it's the first game in a while that I've played that has thoroughly invested me. Like the last time a game has thoroughly invested me was probably Spider-Man PS4. And that's saying a lot for me, at least. So yeah, highly recommend it, even at its full price. So that's all I got to say about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I just want to give my thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy, since I'm basically addicted to this game. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Steam Deck review coming up soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.